Smile like you've got nothing to prove. No matter what you might do, there's always someone out there cooler than you.
Hello listeners, and welcome to Buffalo Lab Radio Free. I'm your host, Eunice Randall. Since this is our first episode, webisode, broadcast. Since this is our first broadcast, I'd like to extend an extra warm welcome and tell you a little bit about our show. Buffalo Lab Radio Free, as you can see, is not actually a radio show. Let's just get that one out of the way. We are a video podcast. We are based in Buffalo, New York, and we broadcast out of the Foundry. The Foundry is a community space in Buffalo, New York, which rents out workspace to local artists and entrepreneurs. And the Foundry is awesome because it's also a place where we encourage people to get together and share ideas and try to be creative and innovative together. And I use the word try when I should really use the word succeed, because the Foundry is indeed filled with awesome, creative, and innovative people. And the reason that we broadcast out of the Foundry is that our podcast is affiliated with our local makerspace, Buffalo Lab, which is also housed at the Foundry. If you're not familiar with makerspaces, allow me to let Wikipedia define it for you. A makerspace is a community-operated workspace where people with similar interests in computers, technology, science, digital art, electronic art can meet and collaborate. And that brings it back to us and our show. Buffalo Lab Radio Free is a podcast about maker culture, about DIY, about learning cool new skills and then using those new skills to get out and make something really cool. So the kind of things that you can expect from Radio Free are tutorials, how it's made features, projects that we're working on in our makerspace, visits to other makerspaces, and generally anything awesome that we're making or that you can make. So with that in mind, let's talk about Maker Faire. Maker Faire is a convention that's sponsored by Make magazine. The first one was in the San Francisco Bay Area in 2006, but now there are Maker Fairs and mini Maker Fairs all over the world. So I was extremely lucky that my first one, which I went to this weekend, was World Maker Faire in New York, which had about 70,000 attendees this year. They call Maker Faire the greatest show and tell on earth, and it was. Picture booths as far as the eye can see, filled with people showing off the amazing projects they're working on. And people are working on pretty much anything you can possibly imagine. And like a bunch of things you haven't imagined. There was a whole village of 3D printers, and they were printing not just plastic, but sugar and metal and ceramic. There was electronic music and a variety of custom-built instruments.
This dial in the square wave close to each other, and depending where their frequency is, they'll start having some cross interference.
Some of which were dangerous. There was art, light hammers that made long exposure art.
Change the color.
Not focusing, but cool. I got you. Oh, that came out nice.
Oh yeah.
Art made out of old computer parts. There were robots and flying robots and underwater robots. There were custom cars and go-karts and bikes and scooters and segways. There were costumes. I have to level with you. I'm the nerd that even nerds think is a nerd because I did wear a costume to Maker Faire. I was dressed as Cecil Baldwin from Welcome to Night Vale. But the reason I did was because my third eye, we 3D printed it and we soldered a little LED to go inside of it, so I glowed all weekend. And I did fit in really well in the LED room, which was one of my favorite parts about the fair, by the way. LEDs are really fun. There was all kinds of crazy science stuff that you could imagine. They had an entire stage called the Diet Coke and Mentos stage, which was pretty much what you'd expect, except that it was the actual Diet Coke and Mentos guys from YouTube. They're called EP Bird. Very awesome.
Nicely done.
But none of these individual things is actually the coolest thing about Maker Faire. Not even the fact that some of them were dangerous. The coolest thing about Maker Faire is the way that it inspires everybody. And it does this in a number of ways. First, the speakers they have there are really cool, amazingly successful, forward-thinking people. So when they talk about their vision for the future, it's super inspiring. I saw a lecture there by Mark Hatch, one of the founders of Tech Shop, and he was talking about how making is an inherent part of us. Actually, let me just read to you. Making is fundamental to what it means to be human. We must make, create, and express ourselves to feel whole. There's something unique about making physical things. These things are like little pieces of us and seem to embody portions of our souls. Embrace the change that will naturally occur as you go through your maker journey. Since making is fundamental to what it means to be human, you will become a more complete version of yourself as you make. By the way, this is his book, The Maker Movement Manifesto, which I highly recommend. I got it there, and he signed it to my friend Hannah, who's definitely not me or my alter ego. And we also saw Regina Dugan speak, and she was talking about people who chose to believe in something and then they made it so, which is totally empowering. You can make anything you want. And the second thing that's so inspiring about Maker Faire is that everyone there is making anything they want. Like things you never would have thought of or even thought were possible. I saw some people who made an iPhone game where you actually controlled the movements of actual living paramecium. And they had a camera lens that attached to the iPhone that magnified them big enough that you could see that they were actually moving when you controlled them. That's amazing. And you walk around and everyone is just super excited about what they're doing and just being themselves. And you can be yourself and have a third eye and everyone thinks it's awesome and compliments you on it. And there's flying robots and stuff everywhere because we live in the future. And it's awesome. It's like a whole weekend of kick-in-the-face reminder that there's no limit to what you can do. And that's what I have to say about Maker Faire. Seriously, it was a really awesome experience. I can't wait till I can go to another one. Thanks again, everyone, for watching our first broadcast. It means a lot to me to have people tune in. Like the show? Don't like it? Comments about the first episode? Have an idea of something you'd like to see on the show? Just want to say hi? Email me at buffalolabradiofree@gmail.com. It's a community-based show, and we're always looking for new ideas and content. You can also follow me on Twitter at Radio Free Eunice, or on Tumblr at Buffalo Lab Radio Free. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm Eunice Randall. This was Buffalo Lab Radio Free. And until our next broadcast, listeners, remember, join the movement and make something cool.
I know that's hard to